What is your American dream?
My American dream is we build bridges, not walls.
My American dream is to own my own business and just thrive and be wealthy.
My American dream is the NFL.
My American dream is that we collectively recognize each other as human beings and that we don't pass judgments based upon color, but we pass judgment based upon accomplishments.
My American dream is to be lucrative in my business, and then also I want to be able to give to different ministries, different causes, people who are in need, to help them come up. If I manage to do that, I live my life.
I want to be the best soccer player in the world.
My American dream is to become a game designer because I'm really good with computers.
My American dream, I want to be a baseball player.
My American dream is just I want to live in a world where we can all collectively live as a community and together and be able to thrive and impoverish without racism and hatred and, just a non-judgmental world that we can all live in.
Everyone has a right to the American dream.
Groundhog Sam! Black, that's perfect. That's so Brad. Very cool, very chic. Oh, hello everybody! Groundhog Sam here! I hope you all had a great weekend and that all you fathers and father figures out there had a great Father's Day. I sure did. And since we all know that Brad is like my human father, I decided to look for something cool for him for Father's Day and I found it. A Brad t-shirt! Ha 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 ha! And I was just admiring it. Check it out. It's like they know Brad. Brad, completely unexplainable. He is a bit of an enigma, that Brad Bernstein. Professional at lie detecting, I must say. He always calls me out whenever I try to fib. So that's perfect for him. Their mind will always be 10 steps ahead of yours. That's Brad too, particularly when it comes to immigration cases. The sweetest until provoked, and a warrior's mentality with a poet's soul. That's totally Brad too. So I thought this is going to be perfect for him. So, Brad has a lovely Father's Day gift from his adopted groundhog child. Ha ha ha. Whether he's going to wear it tonight on the show, who's to know? Oh, and that brings me to this. Now is the time we have all been waiting for. It's time for Brad Show Live, starring Brad Bernstein. Enjoy!
Welcome, everybody, and happy Juneteenth. It is Monday, June 19th, 2023. It is a federal holiday today. It is Juneteenth, the official end or anniversary of the end of slavery. I'm going to be answering all your immigration questions. But first, let's say hello to our squad, Earth Angels. Squad up, how are you? Pope Samuel, squad up. Denise Bradford. I like Denise's last name. Very good last name, Denise Bradford. Watching you, Denise. Squad up. Stephen Naziki, squad up. How are you? Chosen Rothschild. Rothschild. Not a roach. Rothschild. I read it wrong. Squad up. Jewel, squad up. How are you? Lisa Bling, squad up to you. And Westman, always joining us. Squad up. Pamela Laird, squad up. Denver Sow, how are you? And Batterwill, squad up, everybody. Sophia Henderson, good evening to everybody as well. Kunta Kinte, Team Brad. And Westman, is this a pre-schmooze question? Am approved from October 2020 at the NVC, son of permanent resident over 21 from Jamaica. How much longer? I don't know what your priority date is, Westman. I need to know what your priority date is. And I also need to know when you say approved, does that mean you are DQ'd, documentarily qualified? And then I assume you're in Jamaica. You're going to process in Kingston. Just confirm that as well. And then I can answer your question a little later. Hamida, squad up. How are you? And Cody, 1876 Jamaica with a question. Good day. What are some questions they ask at a green card interview based on VAWA? Please, thank you. They're going to ask you questions related to the bona fides of your marriage. They're going to ask you questions related to, you've given a story about abuse, so they're going to ask you questions about that. And they're going to ask you questions about good moral character, if there's any issues about good moral character in your application. And finally, they're going to ask you questions about admissibility. Have you ever made a misrepresentation, a fraud, any criminal records, things that would make you not eligible for a green card? But it all depends on your particular facts. But that's the general gist of the interview. And of course, they're going to go through many of the questions that were asked of you on the I-45 application, especially the ones that you checked off yes and no, just to make sure that they were all answered properly. Myrtle Ray, squad up. And Hamida Amura with a pre-schmooze question of the day. My I-130 processing time was reduced by 6 months. And when I checked online, okay, good. Is that a glitch or are they speeding up the process? Well, it seems in your case, they're speeding it up. So congratulations. That's really good. And Chosen Rothschild, also with a pre-schmooze question of the day. Hey, Uncle Brad, can someone who enters through the land border before May 11, 2023, change status from asylum seeker to marriage? It depends on how they entered the United States of America. So if you were found paroled into the United States, then yes, you can file an adjustment based on marriage. Most people were charged in the NTA, which is the notice to appear, as entering without inspection, and then you would have to argue out that designation is wrong, that you did not enter without inspection, that in fact you were paroled. Because most people, you hear the story time and time again, is they stepped their toe into the United States. They were picked up by Customs and Border Patrol within minutes or less than an hour. They were held in jail for 2 or 3 days, and then they were paroled out into the United States and told to come back for court. Now, that sounds like you were paroled into the United States. That doesn't sound like you entered the country, remained here illegally, and then were picked up by immigration and bailed out of jail. That sounds more like parole than bail to me. So in that particular case, your lawyer, and hopefully you have a good lawyer, would have to argue that factually you did not enter the country without inspection. You were found at the border. Your toe was across the border. That's still at the border. And you were picked up by immigration. You were held in detention, and then you were paroled into the United States of America. So that's on a fact-by-fact basis, but that's probably most people's stories. So my answer is yes, with a caveat that it has to be argued out in court. Nina Cole with a question. If a lawful permanent resident marries a person out of status, what's the process? The process is file an I-130 visa petition, and if that person is out of status, they're either going to A, wait for you to become a citizen and then adjust their status, or 2, do a provisional waiver, go home and come back. But either way, go get married and start that process. Chums Williams with a pre-schmooze question of the day. My grandmother, who's an American citizen, wants to file for my dad. He's 67 years old and married to my mom. How long do you think the filing is going to take? Whew. I hope grandma has a good heart. And listen, I don't wish bad on anybody, but at least 15 years. So if your dad is 67, I don't know how old grandma is, but it's going to take a long time. And Car, bless up. How are you? And Amora Desire, squad up. Shivit, Bradford Miles. Also, second Bradford name of the day. Squad up. How are you? 2017, Westman was filed being a unmarried son of a permanent resident. You're probably waiting 2 years, unfortunately, or a little more. Daryl Winnabaugh, I am on my second semester as the F1 student. I received my work permit for I-45. Can I work without harming my student status? The answer is you cannot work legally on a student visa unless you're working on campus or you get curricular practical training or optional practical training when school is over. What you can do, Daryl, is after 1 full year in the United States, you can apply for a work permit based on hardship that you were, and usually the hardship is something like this. I mean, I don't know your particular situation. I'm just giving you a general ideas. Somebody was promising me to put me through school, grandma, mom, my cousin, whoever it may have been. And they promised to put me through school and pay my room and food and tuition, etc. But now either grandma lost her job, grandma and I got into a fight and we don't talk anymore. Whatever the reason is, that money that I was promised has dried up. So now I need to work to finish my studies. That would be a hardship argument, but you're only allowed to do that after 1 full year in the United States on student status. Baba Oil, also with a similar question. I just answered it. And Jet Von Elling, squat up. How are you? And Rog J. Roberts, yo, back to you. And Arawala, I'm going to skip the middle name and we're going to go call you Arawala Victoria. Hi, Uncle Brad. Can my sibling, who is a U.S. citizen, withdraw her application initially filed for me with the USCIS and have my spouse refile for me after getting married? The answer is yes, but your sibling does not have to withdraw the case. You could have 2 cases going at the same time, and whichever one comes in first, that's what you get your green card on. So I would tell your sister, just leave it alone. Use it as a backup still, but go through on the marriage case because obviously that would be a lot faster. Mustafa Fahado, also pre-schmooze question of the day. How long does it take on an initial I-765 application based on pending asylum? Well, you can't file for an EAD until day 150 of asylum pending. You can't get issued the EAD until day 180, and then usually it's several weeks later. So let's call it 60 to 90 days. GB King, also pre-schmooze question of the day. We're going to do 2 more pre-schmooze questions of the day. I'm going to get into our schmooze. Hello, Uncle Brad. How long would it take to get a work authorization and travel document if one sibling who is a U.S. citizen files for the other? 1 full generation. And who knows if at the end of that full generation, like 15 years, you're even eligible to adjust your status. So yeah, let your sibling file for you, but nothing's happening for a very long time. Another pre-schmooze question of the day. People coming in with the pre-schmooze questions of the day. Teshwar Jaswal. I had my VAWA approved in April 2022 and had an RFE for a birth certificate for the I-45, which was responded to immediately. After we had no update, when we wrote to Vermont, they said my case is in the field. I don't know what in the field means, but maybe in the field means that they're investigating you, that went to a field officer or went to a local field office. That means if it went to a local field office, that means you're going to be scheduled for an interview soon. I'm not sure what in the field you're referring to. All right, last pre-schmooze question of the day. Wilfredo Castellanos. According to the United States Postal Service, USCIS received my RFE for a bona fide marriage on May 22nd. No update. Is that normal? It is. It's not even a month yet, Wilfredo. Got to give him 120 days minimum before you start asking that question. So it was May 22nd, June, July. Come back in September 22nd and ask that question. All right. By the way, I will be answering more questions in our social media comments. But first, for those who don't know how the show goes, I'm going to schmooze, which is give you all updates on immigration, what's going on for the week. Then you're going to call that number scrolling at the bottom, 1-800-529-5465 international. It's +1 212 227-8933. And that is the number see scrolling down at the bottom of the screen for the entire show. And you can call right now and talk to me live on our show. And you're going to be able to talk to me in about 15, 20 minutes from now. So we do have open lines. So if you call now, you will get on our show. It is also the telephone number. It's also the telephone number to call me to schedule a consultation. You want to speak with me one-on-one in a private, personal conversation where we can go into a lot more details and a lot more specificity on your particular matter than what I do here on the show. You can also call that same number. It is the telephone number to my law office, and you can schedule a consultation with me. If you don't like to call, you like to text, go to www.lawsb.com. That's our website. You can text with us directly from your phone at www.lawsb.com, and you can talk with one of our representatives and schedule a consultation that way as well. But right now, let's schmooze and get an update on what's going on around the world with immigration. Let's do it. All right. So on June 14th, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services released new policy guidance on the eligibility criteria for initial and the renewal applications for employment authorization documents for something new. It's called compelling circumstances. So there's now a whole new group of people who may be eligible for work permits. Now, this is the group. For the applicant to be eligible for the new work permit based on compelling circumstances, got to meet the following requirements. The principal applicant and their family members, but would be all eligible for the work permit, but you have to qualify based on the principal applicant. The principal applicant has to be the principal beneficiary of an approved I-140 visa petition, which is the immigrant petition for alien worker, and be approved either in the first, second, or third preference employment-based category. So that would be your EB1 workers, your E2 workers, your EB3 workers, not your special immigrant religious workers under 4, and not the investors under EB5. So it's EB1, 2, and 3. And the principal applicant has to have that I-140 approved and also be in valid E3 status, H-1B status, O status, or L status. And then they can file a Form I-765. And the principal applicant also has to show that no adjustment application has been filed. So who is this going to help? It is going to help people who got sponsored in jobs for their green cards but can't file their adjustment of status yet because the priority dates have not been reached. Now, you got to show an immigrant visa is not available to the principal applicant based on the applicant's priority date, according to the final action date in the U.S. Department of State's visa bulletin. And as I said earlier, also family members, spouse, and children also can qualify. And if immigration determines in the matter of discretion that you have compelling circumstances to justify the issuance of a work permit, even though you have not filed your adjustment of status application, you and your family can get work permits. Now, this guidance covers compelling circumstances for the principal applicants and, as I said earlier, their dependents, the spouse and children, and provides a list of situations that could lead to a finding that compelling circumstances exist, including serious illness and disability, employer dispute or retaliation, or other substantial harm to the applicant or other significant disruption to the employer. And this guidance also provides details on evidence an applicant could submit to demonstrate compelling circumstances. For example, a principal applicant with an approved immigrant visa petition in an oversubscribed visa category or chargeability area who has lived in the United States for a significant amount of time could submit evidence such as school or higher education enrollment records, mortgage records if they own a home, long-term lease records to support a potential finding of compelling circumstances. Compelling circumstances could include if, due to a job loss, the family may otherwise be forced to sell their home for a loss, pull their children out of school, or even relocate back outside of the United States of America. This is especially going to help people in oversubscribed areas, Philippines, Mexico, India, and China, but all oversubscribed employment areas. And on June 13th, the Department of Homeland Security announced the rescission of the prior administration's termination of the temporary protected status designations for El Salvador, Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua, and the extension of TPS for these countries for another 18 months. So what happened was Trump said there is, excuse me one second. Oh, unbelievable. On June 13th, the Department of Homeland Security announced the rescission of the prior administration's termination of the temporary protected status designation, and a lawsuit filed in federal court by advocates challenging the Trump administration's attempts to terminate TPS will now likely be deemed moot. So basically, Trump ended the program, Biden put it back into place. And this action will extend through 2025 the temporary legal status of more than 300,000 immigrants from El Salvador, Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua who have faced the risk of deportation and loss of work permits under the Trump administration policies. Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas said, through the extension of temporary protected status, we are able to offer continued safety and protection to current beneficiaries who are nationals of El Salvador, Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua who are already present in the United States and cannot return because of the impacts of environmental disasters. Soon to be published Federal Register notices will explain the eligibility criteria, timeliness, and procedures necessary for current beneficiaries to re-register for TPS and renew their employment authorization documents. Once the notices are published, existing TPS beneficiaries under the four designations will be able to re-register to continue their TPS throughout the 18-month extension. Individuals who arrived in the United States after the continuous residence dates for these designations are not eligible for TPS, and if they enter without legal authorization and do not have a lawful basis to remain in the United States, will be subject to removal. And of course, today is June 19th. It is Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the oldest known U.S. celebration of the end of slavery, dating back to June 19, 1865, when enslaved Black people in Galveston, Texas, learned that they had been emancipated close to 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had formally been put into place. While Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of the end of slavery, this holiday has not been recognized as a federal holiday until 2021, when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law after the efforts of former Texas State Representative Al Edwards, who sponsored the bill that made Juneteenth a state holiday in 1980. Lobbyist Lula Briggs Galloway, Texas activist Opal Lee, all attended the presidential signing of that bill into law, and others as well. And while this holiday becomes more mainstream, it is important to recognize Juneteenth's place in American history and to reflect on the long struggle for equal rights. And I'll be honest, you asked me 10 years ago, put my hand on my heart, I did not know anything about Juneteenth. About 10 years ago, I started learning about it. And in the last decade, it's become extraordinarily mainstream. I think in another 10 years or so, it's going to be, well, I think it's mainstream now, but it's going to be completely mainstream. I mean, everybody I know, regardless of race, nationality, color, all are very well aware of it, all mostly support it, all are celebrating it. Treshawn Dennis Brown, a legal columnist for probono.net, wrote a very important piece highlighting what Juneteenth means for him personally, and I thought we would share it here. Dennis Brown wrote, although at first embraced solely by African American communities, Juneteenth has gained traction among mainstream outlets in recent years. garnering state and local recognition across the country, especially as the country comes to grips with a legacy of racial tension. But who is Juneteenth for? Juneteenth can be said to be a holiday celebrating Black liberation, but it's important to remember that many heritages simultaneously reside under the blanket term Black. Dennis Brown wrote that he is a proud first-generation American with heritage deeply entrenched in the Caribbean, boasting primarily Jamaican but also Trinidadian lineages. As such, I sometimes feel as though my plight is somewhat divorced from that of Black African Americans, as I cannot lay claim to the legacy of American chattel slavery in the same way. Instead, I hail from islands that were colonized by the Spanish and British, each nevertheless saturated with their own horrors, commensurate with the reputation of being sugar colonies in the colonial era. Is Juneteenth just for the African American whose lineage could, or more realistically could not, be traced back to American slaves? He continued by saying, despite identifying as a first-generation Caribbean American whose family immigrated to the United States in the 1990s, he and his family are easily welcomed into the fold of Juneteenth celebrations. He says the ease with which this happens is possible due to the shared connection of the pigmentation of their skin. The fact remains that despite ancestral differences, the plight of Black people, regardless of immigration or residency status in the United States, is almost universal. Black people retain the lowest median income, are currently enjoying the lowest rate of Black home ownership since the 1960s, and are disproportionately stopped, arrested, and even sometimes fatally killed by the police. He writes that while this might seem the grimmest of ways to endear oneself to a holiday, he is nevertheless excited that Juneteenth is now recognized nationally. And I will say on a side note, not only recognized nationally, but becoming mainstream, which is extraordinarily important, being accepted by everybody. And he closes by saying that the intellectual divide over whom Juneteenth belongs to will hopefully fade over time as Juneteenth continues to attract interest in the mainstream. Soon the question will not be whether Juneteenth is just a Black holiday, as Americans as a whole continue to embrace it as a holiday along with all the other stalwarts, 4th of July, Memorial Day, and the like. And on Thursday, June 15th, the 11th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program at DACA, a group of bipartisan lawmakers in the House relaunched efforts to provide a legal pathway to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants. At a press conference Thursday, the group of lawmakers from both parties announced the reintroduction of the Dream and Promises Act, a bill aimed at creating a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers, undocumented immigrants who were brought to America as children. It also includes provisions of those with temporary protected status and deferred enforced departure status. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat of New York, said, "This is not simply a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. It shouldn't be viewed as a partisan issue at all. Standing with Dreamers, standing with TPS recipients, standing with those who deserve a pathway towards citizenship is an American issue, period. Full stop. America is a nation of immigrants. We are a gorgeous mosaic of people who come to this country from all throughout the world." The bill was introduced in the last Congress by then Representative Lucille Roybal Allard, a Democrat of California, who retired at the end of her last term. The bill passed the House in 2021 with some Republican support, but it died in committee in the Senate. Representative Lori Chavez DeRamier, Republican of Oregon, said, "This is a historic solution that would provide overdue protections for Dreamers in the United States, protections that more than 70% of Americans support." According to a fact sheet obtained by Spectrum News, the Dream and Promise Act would grant Dreamers conditional permanent resident status for 10 years and cancel removal proceedings if they've been continuously and physically present in the United States since on or before January 1st, 2021. So it would basically apply to anybody who would have qualified for the DREAM Act had DACA passed this moment. The bill would apply to those who were 18 years or younger as of January 1st, 2021, on the initial date of entry into the United States, and who are not admissible for the following grounds. So if you came under the age of 18 before January 1st, 2021, you're in. The bill would mandate that in order to gain lawful permanent resident status, Dreamers would have to participate in higher education and secure a degree or complete at least 2 years in good standing in a bachelor or higher degree program or an area, career, and technical education program at a post-secondary level in the United States. They can also complete 2 years of military service or prove a strong record of employment to be eligible. The DACA program was established through executive order by President Barack Obama in 2012 and was intended to be a temporary solution to give immigrants who arrived as children a form of legal status that Obama and others hoped would eventually be codified by legislation. Instead, immigration reform efforts have stalled in the ensuing decade, and no major immigration legislation is made through Congress since 1986. Wow. The last time they passed an amnesty, 1986. 1986, I was 17 years old. Deanna Poligo, a DACA recipient and a strategist for the National Immigration Law Center, who credits the program with lifting her entire family out of poverty, says, "I'm tired because it has been 11 years and we're still fighting to keep our ability to work and stay in the country that we call home." The rule has now faced dozens of legal challenges and an attempted gutting by Donald Trump, and is currently being adjudicated in front of a Texas federal judge appointed by former President George W. Bush. And on June 14th, AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, released a first-of-its-kind report on asylum timelines titled High Stakes Asylum: How Long an Asylum Case Takes and How Long Can We Do Better? The report highlights how that more immigration cases are started each year than immigration judges can complete. So there's more being put into the system and less being put out. Obviously leads to backlogs. And over this time, it has led to not only backlogs, but led to ballooning numbers of pending cases, which puts pressure on judges and the courts and even us lawyers, while also having real consequences for the migrants living in legal limbo. For some recent numbers about the backlog increased significantly during the Trump years, and none of the Trump administration's most controversial immigration policies, including the Migrant Protection Protocol, zero tolerance, border enforcement, the Muslim ban, etc., managed to reduce the court backlog. In fact, the backlog increased from just over 500,000 at the end of fiscal year 2016 to 1.26 million by the end of Trump's term in 2020, a backlog of 1.26 million asylum applications. But that's nothing compared to the Biden administration. Between fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022, the backlog increased almost another 500,000 cases, from 1.5 million to 1.9 million backlogged asylum cases that have to be adjudicated by immigration judges. But the backlog is more than just numbers. Reporter Angelamara Vilches published a recent article that highlighted some of these human consequences. Vilches shares the story of a Nicaraguan asylum seeker whose case hasn't budged in 5 years, highlighting the fact that since his application hasn't progressed, he said he can't move on, can't heal from what has been left behind. Donald Kerwin and Evan Millett, both from the Center of Migration Studies, engaged with this important yet fraught topic in a brand new article called "The U.S. Immigration Courts Dumping Ground for the Nation's Systemic Immigration Failures." In the article, they report that there has been a significant shift in the past decade regarding which agency is initiating deportation cases in court. In 2011, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement started most cases. Today, Customs and Border Protection is issuing by far the most notices to appear in immigration court. In fact, according to data, ICE issued less NTAs than USCIS every year since 2015. Now, USCIS is what we might call the immigration benefits wing of DHS. So the fact that they are issuing more NTAs than the enforcement wing of ICE is very significant. Second, Kerwin and Millett compare Congress's paltry funding of the immigration courts, which is much larger funding of ICE and CBP. In 2023, for instance, the EOIR, which is the agency that runs the courts, the Executive Office of Immigration Review, they received $860 million in their budget, compared to Customs and Border Patrol's $20.8 billion and Immigration and Customs Enforcement's $9.1 billion. The effect of this budget inequality is that the courts have too few immigration judges and, perhaps even more importantly, too few support staff relative to the 1.9 million backlogged asylum cases. That's not even all the deportation cases. That's just the asylum cases. Third, Kerwin and Millett argue for a more independent immigration court that would vest immigration judges with greater independence and authority. Right now, they all report to the Department of Justice. And a bill to make the courts independent was introduced last year by Representative Zoe Lofgren, supported by the American Bar Association, the American Immigration Lawyer Association, and the National Association of Immigration Judges. A decade ago, there was very little reporting and research on the immigration court system. Today, the immigration courts have moved closer to the center of the national debate about how to reform the immigration system. The urgency of that debate is only heightened by the fact that 2.2 million people, these are real people with real lives, continue to move on even when their case is not heard by the immigration court. And on the afternoon of Wednesday, June 14th, 42 migrants arrived in downtown Los Angeles after a nearly 24-hour bus ride from Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott called the removal much-needed relief for the state of Texas. Abbott said in a statement, Texas small border towns remain overwhelmed and overrun by thousands of people illegally crossing into Texas. Immigration advocates said the arrivals, who were given food, shelter, and legal aid at a church near downtown, included at least 8 children and several older people. Speaking to reporters outside the church, advocates and city officials did not provide a full manifest of those who arrived by charter, but anecdotally, most of them came from Venezuela, Guatemala, Honduras, and 2 from African descent. Jorge Mario Cabrera, spokesperson for the nonprofit Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, said they're exhausted, tired, and traumatized. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass was away on a planned trip to Washington, D.C. when the bus arrived, but city and Los Angeles County officials had initiated multi-agency preparations Tuesday night when word spread that the migrants were arriving. Since last year, Texas has bused more than 21,000 migrants to cities across the country, according to Abbott's statement. Abbott described the migrants' drop-off in Los Angeles on Wednesday as the first group. It is unclear whether Texas plans to send additional migrants. Los Angeles is just the latest California city to receive migrants from red states, whose conservative governors have gone head-to-head with Governor Gavin Newsom. Last week, we discussed 2 flights from Florida that landed in Sacramento this month, carrying a combined 36 immigrants. Governor Ron DeSantis claimed responsibility for those flights. Newsom responded via tweet by calling DeSantis a small, pathetic man and suggested he can face kidnapping charges. In a statement Wednesday night, Newsom took a more measured tone. He said, contrary to what some think, California is also a border state, but instead of demonizing asylum seekers, we focus on working with local communities to support and humanely welcome them. Early Wednesday, just hours before the migrants arrived from Texas, California Attorney General Rob Bonta said his office had filed a public records request to the DeSantis office and the Florida Division of Emergency Management as part of an ongoing law enforcement investigation into the conditions under which the migrants seeking asylum were brought into California. The migrants who were transported from Texas to California receiving legal support and other assistance from some nonprofit groups, including Sacramento ACT, PICO, California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation, and the Fuel Network. And we have a feel-good story out of San Diego covered by NBC7's Priya Sridhar, who appeared on our show discussing her own family's immigration story to the U.S. from India. It's been 18 months since the United States withdrew its troops from Afghanistan, and already more than 78,000 refugees have relocated to the United States in that time. Now some volunteers are helping refugees in San Diego and are saying that they're seeing an increase in recent months of Afghans who have flown to South America and walked thousands of miles into the United States across the Mexico border. Barbara Cummings is one of those women or one of those people, U.S. citizens, who are helping the recently arrived Afghans. She's a San Diego resident and has been volunteering to help refugees for a few years. And since October, she said she's seen almost 24 Afghan refugees who have flown to Brazil and then walked thousands of miles for weeks across the Amazon jungle to make it to the United States because they're afraid of their lives in the Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. She said, I don't ever want anyone who crossed my path to feel so alone or so helpless. So if I'm in a position to elevate them a little bit and have a little fun, play some ping pong, play chess, just feel okay. If the worst happens to me here, I'll always have food. I'll always have a place to go, but maybe some of these refugees won't. Sharif Ali and Razik spoke in Cummings' kitchen. They're 2 Afghan refugees who she took in. Sharif and Ali both have wives and kids who have been left behind in Afghanistan. Sharif said his daughter is in the 6th grade. Unless he can get his asylum case approved next year, she will no longer be allowed to attend school in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. The 3 men are all in various stages of their asylum cases, but said that Cummings has been enormous help to them, driving them to medical appointments, court cases, and odd jobs to help them make ends meet. The men said they don't know how they can ever repay Cummings for her kindness and generosity. They hope that eventually they will win their asylum cases and they can get reunited with their families in the United States. And they said they want to work for the rest of their lives helping Barbara with her mission. Okay, so that was a very nice as well. That's the end of our schmooze. Before we get into our meat and potatoes, which is me answering your immigration questions, our lines are locked and loaded. I do want to talk about a Spar and Bernstein success story. Sally Jimenez has been a client of Spar and Bernstein for over 2 decades, and after years of struggling with her immigration status and being separated from her husband and children in the Philippines, she was able to secure green cards and eventual citizenship for herself and her children, one of whom was in deportation. And once she came to Spar and Bernstein, and she eventually helped her whole family, she told us about her experience working with our firm. Let's watch.
I was born in the Philippines, then I went to Jordan for 17 years, and then here in America for 24 years now. I left my late husband and my 3 children in Jordan. My boss who sponsored me had 2 couples who work for him in the past, and Brad, I think, is the immigration lawyer. So he brought me there. He walked me to your office personally in 1997. My first one, who is international student, also Mr. Brad fixed his working permit and green card. He was in college and I lost my job, so I was not able to finance him, and he was in the brink of deportation, and I seek other firm to help me, but they charged me like crazy and I was not able to afford it. So I go back Brad, and Brad really helped me a lot. After I get my green card, I applied for petition by myself. I was broke on that time, so I was not able to hire a lawyer, and unfortunately I filed a wrong petition form. Instead of 6 months, it took 6 years before I got them. It was a very, very long wait. And I went to Brad, and Brad fixed them, and finally they were able to come last March 2010, and Brad really helped me a lot. But I advise that if you have this kind of case, always seek the professional, because if you made a mistake like me, it really takes a lot of time and stress actually. So it's better to pay. And Brad is very good to give us a payment plan and no stress at all. He helped. So that's the reason why I want to share my testimony that he is amazing. The good thing is I granted the death wish of my husband. I'm proud of myself. I can say that. Thank God for Brad. Without him, I cannot make it.
All right. And, as difficult and complicated as your immigration situation may be, Spar and Bernstein will do everything in our power to get your immigration status sorted out. We're going to figure out the best options for you in a consultation. You can send us a private message. You can call us on the number scrolling at the bottom of your screen, 1-800-529-5465, or international 212-227-3636. Of course, you can also call international. There's a second international number, 212-227-8933. Both numbers work. And also, you can go on our website at www.lawsb.com. You can just use your thumbs. You can see the text message that pops up on every page on our website. You can text us from any page on our website, and we'll respond as well. All right, we're going to go to our meat and potatoes now, and that is me answering your questions. Let's do it. All right, let's go to Cindy in Orlando. Cindy, how are you?
Hi, Mr. Brad. How are you?
Good. What's going on? How can I help you?
Okay. I have two stepsons that live with me. They are from Jamaica. They've been living with me from 2021. We filed their immigration papers. They did their medical. They did everything that they were supposed to get done.
Right.
In March of this year, they got an interview, and we went to the interview. One of my sons was having some medical issues. We took him to the hospital. They couldn't tell us exactly what was going on, but we had gotten the interview to go, so we didn't want to miss the interview because we had missed one before, so we didn't want to miss the second one. When we got there, unfortunately, he started acting out real bad. So
who was acting out real bad? Your son?
Yeah.
What do you mean acting out? Why would he act out at an interview?
We found out over the spring break that he was having some suicidal thoughts and talking a lot of crazy things.
So he just went crazy at the interview?
Yes.
Like, what do you mean acting out? Like, tell me what happened. What did he say? What did he do?
He was talking bizarre things. When they got in front of the immigration officer, he was telling the immigration officer, "Oh, you are nothing to me. I'm going to murder you."
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
Yes. So after that, we had to check him into a facility. So now he's on some medication and he's totally different from how he was acting before. But we didn't know exactly what was going on before we took him.
Right.
So now they told Dad if they need anything from him, they're going to send a letter in case they need anything. We've been calling. They're telling us the case is still pending. We've been looking online. It's still saying.
When did this happen?
This happened in March of this year.
Okay. So was the I-130 approved?
Yes.
Okay. And the I-130 was approved before he turned 21?
Yes. They're 16.
They're 16 now. The other son get through and nobody got through?
Nobody got through.
All right. It sounds like to me, immigration's, they're going to hold on to this case for a long time. An immigration officer gets threatened that somebody goes in for a green card interview, says, "I'm going to murder you," even if he's 15, 16 years old. They're not going to be too happy to start granting green cards. So my guess is there could be some denial on moral grounds, or just to punish this child. Immigration just won't ever make a decision for years and years and years. Never, ever do it. So my advice would be, you're going to need a lawyer at this point. You waiting for immigration to make a decision is probably not in your child's best interest at this point, because things look like it's going downhill.
Yeah.
What I would do, and what I would do if I were your lawyer, is I would get the records to see what notes the immigration officer put in the file, if they would give it to us. We can get the file within 2 or 3 months and see that. And then perhaps follow up with immigration for a decision that there's now a lawyer involved. And perhaps if they hold on to the case for too long, threaten a mandamus, because, they may deny it and we'll have to refile again with explanations. We don't know. The only way they can deny it is bad moral character, and somebody coming in and threatening an immigration officer that they're going to kill him could be bad moral character. But you know, again, on the same token, he was out of his mind, obviously. You know, nobody sane would do that. He is a minor, so he is now being medicated. So, you know, there's obviously explanations that can be shared with immigration. But I think you need a good lawyer at this point.
Okay.
All right. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Let's go to Adam in Boston. Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
How are you?
It's good. How about you, bro?
Good.
I have two questions. My first question is I'm green card holder. I apply my family I-130. I get approved, but they say you have to send I-824.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where's your family? In another country?
In Mogadishu, Somalia.
Yeah. Okay. So whoever filled out the I-130 visa petition did not fill it out properly. So whoever filled out the I-130, whether you did it or somebody else did it, I don't know. But it wasn't done properly, which is why they're asking for an I-824 now. So what happened is you filed the visa petition, the I-130, and you checked off a box saying that your family is in the United States and will file to adjust their status. And either they're in the United States and ineligible to adjust, or they're in another country. Either way, they have to process through the National Visa Center. And that requires, because immigration, after they approved the I-130, did not transfer the approval notice to the National Visa Center. So now you have to pay a new fee to do that because somebody who filled out the form screwed up. That's what you need to do.
Okay, my second question is, after I get approved I-130, I got arrested for aggravated felony, and I'm green card holder. And
why were you arrested? Why were you arrested? What were you?
My brother used my identity, and they charged me for fraud.
Okay. Did you well, let me put it to you this way. If you committed a fraud and the loss was more than $10,000 and they're going to pin it on you, that makes you an aggravated felon. You'll go to jail and you're going to get deported, and your family will never come to America. If it was your brother who did it and you had nothing to do with it, and it's they got the wrong guy, that's going to be your defense. If that's your defense, then better be found innocent. Just your family. You got to worry more about you than your family at this point.
Yes.
You need help, man. Hold on 1 second. Not going to solve his problem on a live show, that's for sure. All right. Grace Ann in Richmond, Virginia.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
So my question is, my son is here in the U.S. and a J1 visa, and I would like to know, at the bottom of his visa, it's beer is not subject to Section 212E, 2 years rule does not apply in Jamaica. What does that mean?
Means some people on a J visa, before they can adjust their status or change their status to any other visa status, have to go home for 2 years. And it's either because the skills that they're learning in the United States is in, according to at least the U.S. government, is in short supply in the country where they came from, or because the U.S. government paid for their education or their program in the United States, and the United States wants to send them back to their country to say how great the United States was and pass on U.S. culture. I mean, that's really what it's for. But because he is not subject, it's just like coming on any other visa. You can change your status to a student, to another work visa. You can get married and adjust your status. You're not subject to that 2-year bar, 2-year home residence requirement.
Okay. So my next question is, he wants to go home and come back on an H-2B because he wants to do his master's program. So he's trying to get enough money. Will that affect him, like if he go back in September and they come back in November?
Nope.
No, he doesn't?
Nope.
Okay, so I have one last question. My last question is, for somebody who's here undocumented and like for 10 years and have not paid tax for like in 8 years because of the job was not consistent and it was like 2 months here and there, and wants to get married now to a U.S. citizen. Will that affect the person not filing taxes?
Well, if you worked and didn't pay taxes, it could be bad moral character. But you could always go back and file back taxes.
Back taxes. But what if you were not really working, like the job was not there?
You either worked or you didn't work. There's no such thing as really not really working. So if you earned more than, I think it's $1,250 or $1,500, you have to file a tax return. You owe taxes if you earned more than, I want to say 8,000 and something. I don't remember the exact amount. But you can go back and file back taxes, and if you have a good tax person, you'll owe nothing. Because it doesn't sound like he earned much money or she earned much money.
Okay, so I can go back and just file back taxes.
It's you. Okay, hold on. It's you. Aha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, you can go back, but you know what? You can have a consultation with me first. I'll tell you what to do. Hold on one second.
All right. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, my friend, so I can do it, right? Gotcha. All right, Naisha in San Diego.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I do have a few questions. So my fiance is in Jamaica. We're getting married out there next month. And I want to know the simplest way for me to do the process to file for him to come here and do the filing myself instead of going through an attorney.
Well, he's in Jamaica, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, the fastest way to do it is a fiance and bring him up here to get married. That'll be faster than you going to Jamaica to marry. So really what it comes down to is how desperate do you want to be married to him versus how quickly do you want him to come here? Because if you want him to come here quicker, then file a fiance visa right now. It would be on an I-129 F petition. And the reason why it's faster is two reasons. One, you can do it right now. You don't have to wait to get married. So it can go in quicker. And two, they process fiance visas faster. Then you comes here to the United States and you marry him within 90 days, just like that 90-day, fiance, visa TV thing. And you file an adjustment here. If the wedding's planned and you're doing it no matter what, go to Jamaica, marry him, come back, and you start by filing an I-130 visa petition.
Okay. And thank you. And when you do the previous for him to file for the fiance visa, what is that turnaround time?
About 9 months, 10 months for an approval. And then if you do everything right, probably another 4 to 5, 6 months at the National Visa Center before they get an interview. Marriage, you go down there, it's probably closer to 2 years.
Okay. So it is a lot faster to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. And you get to do it right now. You don't have to wait.
Got it. Thank you. And then with that option, if we were to wait to do the fiance visa, is a visitor's visa an option?
No.
Like so that we can come back and forth and visit each other?
Nope. Because you're on a visitor's visa, you're saying I'm coming to visit. And by filing a fiance visa, you're saying I'm coming to live here forever. Those two don't join.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to explain to him. Even if it did something happen, there's no
all right, perfect. So
if you want more help, hold on. I know you said you don't want to do it with a lawyer, and that's fine. Your prerogative. Go for it. But if you need help, hold on one second, okay? All right, let's go to Patrick in Phoenix, Arizona. Hi, how are you?
Not too bad.
What's going on?
Yeah, I was calling. I got some issues. Like I applied for. Can you hear me?
You applied for what?
I applied for my citizenship 2021. It got denied, and I reapplied again last month. And I applied to renew my green card 2021, but up to now they haven't approved it yet.
Why was your citizenship denied?
Hello. Huh?
Why was your citizenship denied? That would be an important thing to share with me.
Yeah, they said like based on I'm supposed to reside in the state I applied for 3 months, and I have a pending criminal case.
All right, so because you have a pending criminal case, they will deny your citizenship every time. And 2, they will not renew your green card until the resolution of the criminal case.
Oh my God.
What's the pending criminal case?
It's for DWI.
All right, so you got to resolve that first. And let me give you a word of advice. Before you plead guilty to anything, call me and have a consultation with me. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go to Abigail in Atlanta. Abigail.
Yes. Hi, Brad.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, good. What can I do to help you?
I filed for a green card through marriage, and it was denied. Then
Why?
I switched to VAWA.
Okay. Now I know why.
And in 2020, so the VAWA was approved last year in July.
Good.
And the notification got lost. The approval notification got lost, and later on they sent a notification on my immigration app that the notification has been returned to immigration. So I later wrote them myself, even though I have an attorney, and they later sent that notification in October saying that I should do my medicals and hold on to my medicals. So since October, they didn't say anything. And then I decided to send my medicals by myself. So after I sent my medicals sometime in April, 2 weeks after, they emailed a notification for me to send the medicals direct to the Atlanta office as a request for evidence for my I-485. But now the problem is all the notifications they sent to my attorney, they get lost because he moved and has a new address.
All right, let me tell you the problem. Okay, you have an attorney who doesn't get your notifications, and then you just decide to do things because you feel like it. Okay, so you submitted a medical because you felt like it. You felt, oh, I should do something. Let me submit a medical. And then 2 weeks later, they asked you for the medical. The medical you sent 2 weeks before you got that RFE for the medical, that medical never reached your file. Yes,
I understand.
That medical's lost. Go to your doctor.
Yes.
Go to your doctor and get a new medical. You don't have to take the whole exam all over again, but you may have to pay the doctor just to fill out the forms again. And submit it again.
I already did that.
Good. You don't, by the way, good. By the way, then you're fine.
I already did that.
Then you're fine. Then you are fine.
Okay, my question is, I'm the one doing all the work. The attorney still has the old address on my notification.
Why are you complaining to me about your attorney? I can't help you with your attorney.
No, I wanted to ask that, is there a problem if I write withdrawal of attorney to immigration?
That's not a problem at all. You have the right to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Good luck. All right.
Okay.
AJ in Norfolk, Virginia. AJ.
Hey, Brad. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Quick question. I have a couple questions here. So I'm a green card holder. I have a 10-year card that I just got in February of this year. I did my I-751 waiver case. I want to know, first question is, I want to know, when can I do my citizenship?
When did you get your conditional green card?
It was February, I think 15 or 16, February 2019.
Okay. So you can do your citizenship, assuming it was February 2019, last week of November 2023. That would be 90 days before the 5-year anniversary of your conditional card.
Last week of November. Okay, cool. Second question is, my fiance, she lives in Colombia. I'm planning on getting married can I get married and apply for her? Or
yes,
should I wait?
yes, go to Columbia, get married to her, file the visa petition. Let's say you get married to her this summer. You file the visa petition this summer. And in November, you file for your citizenship. And by next summer, you're a citizen. You then write immigration that you're now a citizen, upgrade the case. Guess what? Immigration, in terms of timeline of processing, will consider that a U.S. citizen has filed for his spouse in the summer of 2023, not the summer of 2024. So you're already 1 year ahead of doing it versus waiting to become a citizen and then filing. Got it?
Okay. Got it. Is there any issue? Because I heard like because since I got my green card through marriage, so is it any problem if I?
Oh, well, actually, you're right. I neglected to tell you that. So you're absolutely right. Because you're right. I don't know where my brain was. Because you got your green card through marriage, you cannot you can get married to your fiance now, but you can't petition for her until February 14th, 2024. So you should do it then while your citizenship is pending.
Okay, cool.
Because you have a 5-year anniversary. You can get married whenever you want, it's just you can't petition until the 5-year anniversary. So I apologize. You're right.
Okay. No, it's okay. So my fiance, she had applied. So before we met, she had applied for a B2 visa, and she had her appointment at the end of June this year for the embassy. However, she canceled that visa appointment. Will that affect when we apply in February next year?
No.
Okay. And does she need to speak English? Because she does not.
She needs to speak English to become a U.S. citizen, but not to get a green card.
Okay, cool. And one more thing. Next year, I also plan to apply for my parents. Can we do 2 applications, like one for my parents?
You can do 3, one for each of your parents and your fiance, and who would then be your wife.
Right, and I believe that will be counted as household size 4, including me.
Correct, unless you have children.
No, I don't. Okay. Do you know, by the way, I know it changes every year, but do you know what's the current poverty guidelines for poor people?
Here's a good rule of thumb. Take $21,000 for family of 2 and add $4,000 for each additional family member. So 21 plus, over 30,000, you should be okay.
Okay, so I'm good. I'm over 60, so we're good.
You're fine.
Okay. All right, thanks, brother. That was all. Thank you.
All right, good luck. All right, let's go to
counted as household size 4, including me.
Can you listen to the live phone and not the live phone?
No, by the way, I know it's
hello.
Hi, how are you, Lenny?
I'm good. I'm on live right now.
You're on live right now. If you can lower the device. Yes, perfect. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine. Is this Brad?
It is Brad. You have to lower the actual show in the background and just talk live on the telephone.
Okay. Okay, so we can go ahead and talk now?
Well, if not now, then never. So this is your time.
Okay. I can hear you now.
What's your question?
Hi, Brad. Thanks for taking my call. My initial filing for I-485 was in May 2018 to a U.S. citizen, but that was denied because we did not appear and I had issues with my spouse. So I eventually filed for VAWA, which was approved January 27, 2022. But before then, I had applied for abeyance and my I-1485 was pending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now it got approved. So after the approval, I now notified USCIS about the VAWA approval.
Great.
So I've been waiting for them to call for the RFE and they haven't called me for that.
How
So while
long
I
is
was
how long
waiting,
is how when was the VAWA approved?
it was approved January 27, 2022.
January
So,
2022?
Yes.
Oh, you should have heard by now. It's a year and a half.
Exactly. It was a long wait, and I had made several efforts. I even contacted the congresswoman who contacted them. They said they were waiting for my turn to come by.
Where are you from?
Houston. I'm from Nigeria.
Okay. Were you ever married in Nigeria?
Yes, I was married, and everything was completely done. Divorced, final divorce, and everything was okay.
Where were you divorced?
I was divorced in Nigeria.
That's why you're waiting. Every person who has a divorce in Nigeria, immigration is verifying whether that divorce is valid.
Okay. But now what happened was that I applied for my 3 kids, and that was January this year. And I applied for travel documents and I-485. So everything was going well. And on the 6th of June, I got a notification that the travel document was approved. Right. And on the 8th of June, I got another notification decision on one of the kids that the I-485 was denied. So I got confused. And the reason here is that an applicant adjusting status as a derivative beneficiary is only entitled to the same immigrant status as the principal.
Your child sounds like he's over 21, maybe.
No, my child is, the 3 of them, they're like 16, 14, and 12.
Oh, then now, I don't know what you did wrong, but you did obviously something wrong. I would have to look at the paperwork.
Yeah, but what they expected here is that our record shows that on May 18, 2023, my I-485 was denied, and I have not received that notice.
All right, so then we need to find, we need to find out why your adjustment was denied. I don't know why your adjustment was denied, but it was denied. So your case is not pending, which is what you started saying. My case has been pending forever.
Yeah, it's been pending, but
hear me out now. Hear me out. Annie, you've been talking for 5 minutes already, so just hear me out. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you started off saying my case is pending, so I'm racking my brain. Why would your case be pending for over a year and a half? And I said, oh, it's because of Nigeria and the divorce, because a lot of times they investigate that. But we didn't have to hear any of that. Your case was denied, and you don't know why. So what if you have a denial from 2 months ago and you don't know why, and certainly I wouldn't have your son travel right now because your case is denied, and then your decision got lost in the mail. And that's not my fault or your fault. That's the mailman's fault. So the only way we can figure out why your case was denied and fix it is to do what's called a Freedom of Information Act request. Request the records from immigration, including everything you completed, and in there will be the reasons for the denial, and fix it. Simple as that. Hold on. Let's go to Ella in Bowie, Maryland, or Elo in Bowie, Maryland. Excuse me.
Hello. Hey. How you doing, Mr. Brett?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. First of all, let me cut straight to the chase. So thank you very much for this you do. I really appreciate it. When I found out, I was like, wow. So, and thanks for picking my call. So my question, so I'm in the military, and I just naturalized through the military.
Okay, great.
So, and I'm serving my country right now. Great. So I have like 4 siblings back home in Nigeria, and I'm trying to think about how I could bring them over here.
Well, you sponsoring them is going to take forever, and even if you're in the military, it doesn't make it go any faster.
Okay.
How old are they?
The oldest is 20, so they're all like 14, 15, 16.
Well, unless they're going to get visitors visas to come visit you, and then when they're here, we can figure out what to do. You sponsoring them is going to take forever. What about you sponsoring the parents and letting the parents come and then sponsoring them?
Okay, so I'm an SIJ.
Oh, so you can't sponsor the parents then? Okay.
So
Right. So the only way you would be able to help the children would be the same way, get them here somehow on a SIJ. But you would have to be here first to do it. If not, they can try to get student visas, but I doubt they would get student visas because they've already shown that their siblings don't have any family to return back to. They've been abandoned by at least one or both of your parents. So I think it's going to be hard for them to get student visas as a result. I don't have the answer for you off the top of my head. I mean, obviously, if you file for them, it's going to take forever. But we can have a consultation, try to rack our brains and figure it out. Hold on one second. Let's go to Finola in Orange, New Jersey. Finola.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Bernstein.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I just have a quick question. So I have a friend of mine who came into this country from Guyana probably over 10 or 15 years ago, came on a K3 visa, was able to get a work permit, but wasn't able to complete all the paperwork filing.
Right.
Because the ex-wife at the time took all the paperwork and didn't do the filing.
Okay.
So now he's divorced from her, but is now remarried. Could you just advise me on if there's anything that could be done?
Yeah. So when you come on a K3, it's a visa to come to the United States to wait for your green card in the United States after your U.S. citizen spouse filed for you. As part of the conditions of coming on the K3, you can only adjust your status in the United States based on the marriage to the U.S. citizen spouse who sponsored you. So that gives the U.S. citizen spouse lots and lots of power over you when you come. Because if they hide the paperwork and don't file anything, then you're screwed. He could have filed in a VAWA abuse case within 2 years of the divorce. I assume he's divorced more than 2 years because you told me this happened a decade ago. So assuming he's remarried now, the spouse would file a visa petition for him, would file what's called a provisional waiver. And a provisional waiver is a request to waive the 10-year bar if he were to go back to Guyana to pick up a green card, because he's stuck in Guyana for 10 years if he leaves. You do the waiver while in the United States. People say, well, what's a waiver? The best way to think of a waiver is it's requesting the government to forgive you for living undocumented in the U.S. And if you get that forgiveness, that waiver, then you can go back to Guyana without fear of being turned back. And he'll be interviewed in Guyana. And he'll be interviewed on, are you in a bona fide marriage with your current wife? Were you in a bona fide marriage with your prior wife? Do you have a criminal record? Did you ever lie to the government? And assuming everything is okay on all those 4 questions, he'll be back with a green card in 2 weeks, as long as you leave with a waiver.
So would your recommendation be to use an attorney or go ahead and file?
Absolutely. No, if you need a waiver, you need an attorney. I have never in my career seen somebody file a waiver on their own and get it approved. Ever.
Okay.
I'm sure it happened, but I've never seen it.
Could I just have one more question?
Sure.
Can an adult child file for a parent in this case?
No. When you come on a K3 visa, you cannot adjust your status unless it's through the wife or the husband or the spouse, whatever it is, who brought you here on that K3.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much for your help.
So you need an I-130 and a waiver, and you can't even get a waiver through a child, so it has to be through the spouse.
Through the spouse. So, and we can call your office to start the process on this?
Absolutely. Hold on one second. Jumi in Houston. Jumi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Hi, Brett.
Good. How are you? What's going on?
Yeah, I have a question, please. I got married, I think January 2019, and I got my green card October 8th, 2020. So I want to know when I can file for my citizenship because I'm still married to my husband.
You got the conditional green card in 2018?
2020.
2020.
October 2020.
When in
Yes.
2020?
October 8th.
And that was a 2-year or 10-year?
2 years.
Okay, so you removed the conditions when in 2022?
July 2022.
Okay. So in October of 2023 would be 3 years from the time you got your green card. Go back 90 days, September, August, July, mid-July, you can file your citizenship.
Okay, thank you so much. That's my question.
What day? Tell me again. Tell me the day again. You got your, give me the exact day.
October
What?
18th.
October 18th, 2020?
Yes.
Okay. So wait until at least October 25th, 2023, and then put it in.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Karen in Trenton, New Jersey. Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Brad.
How are you? What can I do to help you?
Okay. I filed for my daughter in 2019 as a permanent resident. No, I'm a citizen. I did the change over from citizen permanent to citizenship.
Right.
So how long do I have to wait now, sir?
How old's your daughter?
For her she's 30.
And when did you originally file for her?
February of 2019.
About 3 or 4 more years.
4 more years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
just the messenger. If it was up to me, I'd give your daughter a green card tomorrow. Trust me, I would. It's just the backlogs are enormous.
Right. When my mother filed for us, right? She was on the filing and she had to come off. So I come up and do the paperwork. That's gonna cause a problem in this.
No.
Filing that I do for her.
No, unfortunately, just gotta wait. Sadly.
And I promised her 2 years left.
I know. Sad.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
In there. I'm sorry.
Right.
All right. Rahima in Mobile, Alabama. Rahima.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Rahima. Good to help you.
Yes. I'm calling on behalf of my sister, and she. Can you hear me, sir?
I do.
Okay. So, I'm calling on behalf of her. She was here. She came on a visiting visa. She stayed for 4 months, and then she was having some problems because she left her daughter. Her son back home because she came with one of her sons and left 2 back home.
How did she come to the United States?
On a visiting visa.
On a visitor's visa.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you're calling on behalf of your sister who came on a visitor's visa, who left the son behind, and I guess your sister is out of status now, correct?
She went back home. She still had time. When she came back, they at the airport, she was deported back to Kenya.
Okay.
So now she's trying to find a way because her son is here. Her son is here in America, the one that she came with.
Why was she deported at the airport?
Sir, what you say?
Rahima, I don't know why she was deported in the airport, and you have a lot of people talking behind you.
She was deported because. I'm sorry. I have.
Yeah.
She was deported because they checked in her. The immigration checked in her phone, and they found a video that showed that she was working when she was here.
All right. So she's not going to be able to come back unless she gets a waiver because she has a misrepresentation issue. Okay.
Yes,
she can only get a waiver for a green card through a spouse or a parent. So if she doesn't have parents here, she has to have a spouse or she's never getting to America. Ever.
She doesn't have a spouse here. She doesn't have a
then she would not be able to get to America. As for the son, how old is the son?
No. The son is back in Africa with her, so she doesn't have the family here.
So nobody's here now.
Yeah, it's just her sister.
Unfortunately, she screwed up. She traveled with videos showing she's working in the U.S. on a tourist visa. Don't do that. So there's nothing you can do now. She's barred for life. When you get caught at the airport on a visitor's visa and deported because they found out you were working on a visitor's visa, you are never coming back again, ever. Unless,
but they still have 5 years. They gave her 5 years.
And I am telling you, forever. They told her 5 years for the deportation. What they didn't tell her is that the misrepresentation of working on a tourist visa is lifetime. And the reason they don't do that is they don't want the person to have a breakdown in the airport. They want to deport them as easy as possible and screw them when they find out in 5 years they're never coming back. Because can't come back for two reasons. One, 5 years for deportation, lifetime for misrepresentation. And the only way to overcome the misrepresentation at this point is to be married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident and get a waiver through that marriage, or have parents who are U.S. citizens or residents. Other than that, never coming back ever. I'm sorry to report that. I'm a messenger. I feel, but it's what it is.
Thank you so much.
All right. Can't sugarcoat it. Mika in the Bronx.
Yes.
How are you?
Hi, I'm okay.
What can I do to help you?
I'm calling to ask on behalf of my mom. She filed for me, right? So she filed for me, and they sent back the filing papers 2 times. Like, she filed for me, they sent it back 2 times, but she filed it before my 6 month on my visiting visa, because they gave me 6 months in the country.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
And your mom's a citizen or a resident?
She's a resident.
Okay. And when she filed for you, did she file an adjustment application or just an I-130?
She filed an adjustment application.
Okay. Have they accepted the adjustment application now?
So they're pending the 130. The 130.
Was the I-45 accepted?
No.
Are you in status still?
No. My
You're
status
screwed.
was up.
Your mom screwed you. You're screwed. When will your mom become a citizen?
She got a green card last year in April.
Your mom screwed you. You're out of status. And soon you're going to have a 3 and 10 year bar. You have to have a proper I-45 filed while you're in legal status. Once you fall out of status, you can no longer file an I-485. Your I-130 is going to take 2 years to get approved. You're going to be sent to your home country and have a 10-year bar. How long have you been out of status now?
I think maybe 4 months, because from January.
Okay. So you need a consultation because you have a lot of decisions to make in the next 30 days. Are you going to go back to your home country and wait for your green card, which will take 2 years? Are you going to stay here and live here illegally? You have a lot of big issues to decide, but what you're not getting is an adjustment because your mom screwed up. When you have a deadline of 6 months to file in a small window of 90 days, how do you just file papers on your own? I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at your mom. How do you just file papers on your own without knowing what the hell you're doing twice? You screwed up first time. You better go get help. Hold on. Stupid. Dumb. Girl could have got a green card if it was done right. All right. All right. Let's see what's going on now. All right. By the way, if you didn't get your questions asked and answered, you can always follow us on Instagram at Bradshaw Live and ask your questions there. You can follow me at Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram, and I answer questions personally there. You can follow me on TikTok. You can ask your question, and if I see your question, I'll give you a video directed at you for the whole entire world to see me answering your immigration question. If you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, you're following us on Facebook and subscribing on YouTube. You could also follow us on Twitter, all our different social medias. You should do it. You can also call us at 1-800-529-5465 to schedule a consultation with me. You can also go to www.lawsb.com. Take out your thumbs, both of them. Send us a text message, and we'll be happy to respond and schedule a consultation to speak with me. In the meantime, I do have to remind everybody that we also handle personal injury cases as well. Recently, we've been talking on the show about premises accidents, and you may have a claim if you were injured on somebody's property. Today, I'm going to explain who is responsible if you trip and fall on a sidewalk, examples of negligent building security and how that can apply to a premises liability claim, who pays for treatment after a premises injury, and whether someone who cannot afford legal services can pursue a premises liability claim. Let's watch. Typically, the property owner is responsible for maintaining sidewalks connected to their property. If you were injured on a public sidewalk, the City of New York may be held liable. Negligent building security cases refer to offices and apartment buildings where owners are responsible for securing access to the building. Security measures can include security guards, doormen, locking doors, and more. If someone enters the building and assaults or kills a tenant inside, the injured party can file a premises liability case against the owner of the building for negligence. After an accident, your medical bills will be covered by your health insurance if you are insured. You can pursue compensation to cover your expenses by filing a premises liability claim against the party responsible. At Spar and Bernstein, we search for solutions that allow medical bills to be paid as they arise. At Spar and Bernstein, we believe that every person deserves legal representation regardless of their financial standing. Our free initial consultation serves as the foundation of our client relationships, where we examine the grounds for your premises liability case and determine how to handle it to achieve the best possible outcome. We do not require payment in advance. Once a settlement is reached, we collect a payment in the form of a percentage of the net amount you are awarded as compensation. Contact an experienced personal injury attorney to determine your options. Oh, there we are. Unfortunately, accidents do happen. And save our telephone number, 1-800-529-5465, 1-800-LAW-LINK, in case you or someone you love is injured in an accident in New York. And we do all we can to help you at a time when you need it the most. All right, we're ready for social media check-in. Let's do it. And as always on a social media check-in, I start by answering your immigration questions from our Brad Show Live VIP page. You want your social media questions answered first in this segment? Then make sure you become a fan at Brad Show Live fan page on Facebook. Our first VIP question comes from Clayco Nation. I went on a marriage-based interview with my wife. The officer asked all the questions, but did not take the evidence we brought. After the interview, the I-130 and I-45 are being actively reviewed by USCIS for 80 days now with no approval. Can we upload the additional evidence online while waiting, or what do we do? It's so frustrating. It is frustrating. Don't do anything. It is likely that either you're going to get approved, and if you don't get approved within like 180 days, then most likely you'll probably get requested to a Stokes interview, and then you will go back on that Stokes interview and bring all the evidence at that point. But don't upload, never upload and submit unless requested. Jet Van Elling asks, is there any way, he's also a VIP, is there any way I can fix my status after 10 years of overstaying? I'm still married, but not together. He doesn't want to divorce me. Well, first of all, If your spouse doesn't want to help you and doesn't want to divorce you, number one, you don't need your spouse's permission to get divorced. There's something called irreconcilable differences. So if you are no longer with your spouse and you have irreconcilable differences, whether he likes it or not, you'll get divorced. Just got to go to a lawyer. Number two, if you're being separated because of extreme emotional abuse or because he was physically abusive, you can file a VAWA case. If not, go to a divorce attorney, get divorced, and fall in love again. Those are your options. Thomas Anderson with a question. What is the difference between a 2-year green card and a 10-year green card? Is a 2-year green card holder not a permanent resident? A 2-year green card holder is a permanent resident. It's just conditional. Conditional on immigration re-interviewing you and your spouse for you to prove, in fact, it is a bona fide marriage. That is the difference. And of course, a 2-year green card holder can only be out of the U.S. for 4 months out of the year versus a permanent resident can be out of the U.S. for 6 months. Other than that, it's the same thing. You are a permanent resident of the United States, just conditionally. And Azif Khan with another Facebook VIP question. Last week, I put the wrong date for humanitarian reinstatement approval. I'm in the F3 category, and I've been waiting for the reinstatement since January 2022. Is it normal for USCIS to take this long? I'm from Pakistan. It is normal. Reinstatement sometimes takes 18 to 24 months. Everything in immigration is totally beyond ridiculously backed up. All right, let's go to our social media check-in with our questions from our YouTube and Facebook feed. Donna Thompson asks, hi, Brad. Donna from Jamaica. My son did his biometrics last Wednesday. How long do you think it will take for a work permit? I have no crystal ball, but my guess is at least 3 to 4 months. Marlon asks, blessings, Uncle Brad. If a person makes a mistake on the DS-160 and after realizing canceled the application, can this still count as misrepresentation? I don't think so, but I would need to know specifically what's going on. Bemalika Arawola asks, hello, Uncle Brad. How long would it take to get my work authorization travel document if one sibling who is a U.S. citizen file for another? Forever, lifetime. You're not getting it anytime soon, at least a generation. And you're not likely going to be able to adjust your status or anyway at the end. So at this point, forever. Duan Fisher, hi, Brad. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I keep checking the visa bulletin. Good. My daughter's priority date is October 9th, 2015, but the bulletin seems to be stuck on September 22nd, 2015. She's in Jamaica. Yeah, it's going to probably be stuck there until October. Come October is the new government year. That's when new green cards are issued. So it'll probably be stuck for July and August and September, and then probably push up in October of this year. Jessica Leamy, Mrs. Joelle Davis. Uncle Brad, could a U.S. citizen spouse get more than one RFE based on the I-130? Absolutely. M. Jose T.A. Hi, Lick. Who's Lick? Can I send my medicals before I receive the RFE to the NBC? No. If you submit anything before you get the RFE, that medical is going into a black hole. Wait until you hear from them. Jumanji Bells. I got married in 2019 and got my green card in October of 2020 and still married. When could I file for my citizenship? I think I spoke to this woman and I told her the October 2023. I'm a resident of Canada. Do I need a visa to come to the U.S.? Yes, you do. Only citizens don't need visas. Akif, do you think any immigration reform this year? Fingers crossed. I hope so. Terry, hi, Brad. Can a J1 student extend their visa if you do not have a 2-year home residence requirement? Yes. Al-Maruk Adichi, hi, Brad. My friend's daughter is, well, even if you have a 2-year home residence requirement, you can extend on a J for sure, but you can't change to any other status unless you get a waiver or you don't have a 2-year home residence requirement. Al-Mazuka Adichi, hi, Brad. My friend's daughter is 21, U.S. citizen born, but the father came illegally. He needs to go to his country, or can he stay here to adjust? Well, if he came illegally, he would not be able to adjust his status here. And if he went home, he has a 10-year bar, so he needs a consultation. Let's see who else we got here. Doiji Alahi, Ajayi, Ayoji Ajayi. It's the best I can do. I had material misrepresentation in 2011. I reapplied with my family in 2017, but advised to reapply with a waiver. I'm in the UK now. Do I still need a waiver to apply for other countries after 10 years? You don't need a waiver for any other country but the US, but you have a permanent bar to the US and you will always need a waiver until you get a green card. Christofina Sell, Brad, I don't want to attend my I-130 interview. Will it affect my VAWA? I'm tired of the constant humiliation, insults, disrespect, and financial abuse. Well, I think you should file a VAWA and convert your case. And as soon as you file a VAWA, your husband is off the case. And if you get an interview, you go alone. Catherine Treshita. I have a case with USCIS we submitted 9 months ago. We haven't heard back. If I hire you, can you help expedite the process so my husband and I can go back to his country in Italy? Certainly can help. Yes, absolutely. Dorothy Connie. I have a case with USCIS, but they denied it because I've stayed over my 6 months time period that I got in the country. Can you guys help me? It depends what I would need to know more, but you certainly need a consultation, that's for sure. Is there a parole for nonviolent aggravated felon deported from USA 17 years ago? No, there is no parole for nonviolent aggravated felon. Solgara. Hi, Brad. My case status says no immigrant visa available. Do you think I will receive my green card because all my friends received green card EB3 from Nepal? So how would I know if you're going to receive your green card when I don't know anything about your case? Simone Merchant. Good evening, Sir Brad. Can a minor travel on a visitor's visa while filing in process? Yes, but there's always a problem at the airport. But generally, yes, but I can't give you a 100% guarantee because it's really dependent on who you see at the airport. Shwani, good day. I was denied the N400 2 times because of not having enough time in the country. What's my option? Have enough time in the country, Shwani. That is 30 out of 60 months physically in the U.S. No trip more than 6 months in the last 5 years, 90 days living in the state where you file. Get enough time and then redo it. No other way around it. KK, is it true you have to go back home if married to a green card holder or a U.S. or a citizen? Depends on how you came. It depends on if you're in legal status. Abir Saha, I landed to the USA with CR1 marriage-based visa. When I landed, USA marriage already crossed 2 years, 1 month. So my question is, which green card will I get? A 10-year green card. Congratulations. Brandon Chen, I was deported back to Jamaica after they canceled my visa at the airport and I returned 1 year later and crossed the border illegally. Now I'm here. I'm planning on marrying my girlfriend, which is American. You got a problem because you re-entered after a prior deportation without permission. That's committing a crime. Certainly don't admit it in live show. You need a lawyer. Maria, I recently got married and my U.S. citizen spouse has refused to file taxes, so I can't file my adjustment status. Hasn't filed since 2014. He's mean and heartless. One of my options, file an abuse case if he's mean and heartless and get rid of him. Hair Genetics, I'm a Jamaican citizen, Dominican Republic with my 10-month-old daughter, also a U.S. citizen that was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I want to visit Jamaica, but my U.S. partner don't want me to carry my baby. Jamaican citizen, Dominican Republic with my 10-month-old daughter, who's also a U.S. citizen that was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. Well, you need to get full legal custody of the child. It's the only way you can get a U.S. passport for the child. I think that's your question. Jolie, hi, my husband is a U.S. citizen. I'm a green card holder. We want to adopt our nephew who's under 16, living in a convention country. Can we be eligible to adopt, or both of us must be U.S. citizens? No, one of you is a U.S. citizen is more than enough to do the adoption. Camille, I guess. I'm married to a green card holder. Can I still concurrently file an I-130 and I-45? Only if you're in legal status. Sani at Bradshaw Live. Hi, Uncle Brad. Can a minor child come to the U.S. for schooling? Can a minor child come to the U.S. for schooling while waiting on their I-130? Excuse me. Or should they have filed as a student and adjusted status? Hi, Uncle Matt. Can a minor child come to the U.S. for schooling while waiting on their I-130? Should they have filed as a student and adjusted status? I don't know who's filing, Sani, so I would need to know more information. I apologize. I was having a problem here on my computer for a second. Sharon Lovesome Pemberton. Love me some. Me, Pemberton. Hello, Mr. Brad. I got a work permit card, but they denied my travel document. And the reason was I came without being inspected, but that's not true. My I-94 is with my 484 documents. Why would USCIS come to that untrue conclusion? Obviously, they made a mistake, so you probably will need help if it's an untrue conclusion. I'm not immigration, so I don't know what they're looking at. But if it's a mistake, then obviously we can fix it. Oscar Rodriguez. We applied for naturalization for my daughter 5 months ago from Chile, and we came to USA with her 3 months ago. We applied for naturalization. She entered as a tourist, and now we were waiting for her appointment. Oscar, you're not applying for naturalization for a daughter. Maybe a certificate of citizenship if you're in fact a U.S. citizen, or maybe an adjustment of status to get her a green card. I don't know what that question is, Oscar. It's not a question. It's a statement, and it's incorrect. Nick Gardner. Hi, Brad. I was petitioned by my dad in F1 category, unmarried son and daughter of U.S. citizen in 2013. It was approved in 2014, then 2020 prior date was current. However, Trump and COVID set things back. However, the NVC says every 60 days for appointment in Jamaica, but dad died. Can apply for humanitarian reinstatement. Can it work? You can apply for humanitarian reinstatement. It has to be done stateside. I'm sorry about your dad's death. You have to have a close family member substitute in for your dad, but yes, you can. Sharon Howell, I'm a U.S. citizen, filed for my brother in Trinidad in 2011. He got approved in 2014. Since then, haven't heard anything. What's the next step? Wait, you're in 2007, so you have like 5 or 6 more years. Des Pemberton, I can't put my name on a tenancy lease because they require a social security number. I'm in the process of submitting my adjustment status. Will this affect my application? No, it will not affect your application. Get your social. Winsome Wilson, good evening, Brad. Is there a way to use name and date of birth to check the status with USCIS? A friend of mine's stepmother supposedly filing for him, but needs to know if she's really filing for him because she's not giving him any information. Yeah, you do a Freedom of Information Act request, and you request all your records and see if there's an application filed for you. It's done on a FOIA. All right. Antonio Mendoza, I have a Social Security per VAWA. What am I supposed to do with my work? I work with fake social for 15 years. You seriously asking me about how you fix fraud for 15 years? You need a consultation. Colossians. I would like to file for my brother to return to the United States. He was deported 20 years ago. And an immigration attorney told me that I would need to get his alien file. Why can't the immigration lawyer get his alien file? I would get that for you. It's a dumb immigration lawyer, so we can figure out if we can bring him back. Lulu. Hi, Brad. It's been 4 months since my RFE, and I'm still waiting after sending the information they needed. Yep. That's a statement, not a question. I don't know what you submitted. I don't know when you're going to get a response. Kevin Gallimore. Good evening, Brad. I have a question after DQ with NVC in May. How long before the interview if my wife and kids are in Jamaica? I'm a U.S. citizen. It's usually about 1 year from DQ, unfortunately, for Jamaica. Hi, Brad. P.S. If you marry and get a 2-year and get denied for the 10-year and get divorced, can you remarry again? Yes, unless they claim that you committed marriage fraud. The answer is yes. CE user, can an F1 student change to a green card through employment during OPT or F1 and CPT? Yes, perhaps yes, absolutely. As long as it's prospective employment, unless you're working legally on OPT. Arecha Lafayette asking for a friend in the USA on a B1, B2 visa. Can he do an extension, then adjust his status? His father's petition for him. His prior date is 2013. He's a married child of a U.S. citizen. Yes, but I believe the priority dates are not reached yet. So even if you request an extension for 6 months, I doubt it would be reached for 2013 already. So he would definitely need a consultation. What happens when USCIS responds to an I-13? There is no I-13, I guess an I-130. Well, you get an approval letter. Congratulations. I-130 just says they approve the relationship. TK Paulone, do you help with divorce process? In New York, yes. I-130. We were right. Chris Kelly, good evening. Can a green card holder get deported for not working? No. Cannot get deported for not working. Nikki D, hi, Brad. I have a question. So my whole family came to the United States as refugees back in 1981, and my parents became a citizen in 96. I was underage, so I filled out a form N600, and the Department of Homeland Security is asking for a birth certificate, which I don't have. What do I need to do? Take a blood test between your parents and prove that you are the child of your U.S. citizen parents who became citizens under the age of 18. Blood don't lie. All right, we're going to do 2 more in social media check-in. Brian Abdul, a U.S. Scary Joker guy. U.S. citizen parents sponsored adult unmarried child. Priority date is 2018. Cases NVC. How long for green card interview? U.S. citizen parents sponsored adult unmarried child. At least 2 or 3 more years, unfortunately, Brian. And the last question in social media check-in for right now. What are instances where your work permit can be canceled or withdrawn by immigration? Can it be withdrawn if you lose a mandamus case? Your work permit would be canceled if your adjustment application is denied. That would be it. Okay, there would be no other reason why your work permit would be denied. All right, I'll do 2 more. Why not? Saad Absalam. I got married and my wife pulled the petition in 2013 and we filed the I-130 in 2015, but we missed our immigration interview. As a result, immigration denied my case. After that, I asked the immigration judge. That's terrible because that's not even a question. I said I was only going to do 2 more and I just read a statement. How long does an I-45 after an approved VAWA? About 1 year. And the last question. My visa was canceled because he found a letter about hoping to get a job. Can I get my visa back? No, because you got denied for perhaps misrepresentation. All right, so that is our social media check-in. As we've been talking about today, it's Juneteenth. The holiday, Juneteenth, is a time for everyone to really look at the history of America and African Americans, as well as to come together as a nation and realize how important freedom and equality is for everyone in the USA. Shannon Lanier is a news anchor and social media influencer. He's also the 6th great-grandson of President Thomas Jefferson and his enslaved maid, Sally Hemings. And he co-authored the book, Jefferson's Children, The Story of One American Family, where he explores his complex family history. Our correspondent, Jonathan Elias, spoke with Shannon about what he discovered writing his book and what the Jefferson Hemings legacy means to him. Let's watch.
As the 6th great-grandson of President Thomas Jefferson and his slave Sally Hemings, news anchor and social media influencer Shannon Lanier knew he had, to say the least, an interesting family heritage. But when he decided to co-author the book Jefferson's Children, The Story of One American Family, Shannon took a deep dive into his family history and unearthed some difficult and complex but insightful truths. And he connected to relatives he had never met in the process as well. Shannon joins me now to share what he discovered, what the Jefferson Hemings legacy means to him and his family, and what he hopes others can learn from their story. Shannon, what's up?
Hey, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so now let's talk about this amazing finding. When did you first find out about you being a descendant of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings?
I've always known my entire life. It was just one of those things we grew up knowing through the oral history of the family. My mother told us that we were descendants, and a lot of family members did a lot of background work before me to make sure that the foundation was laid so I could one day know who I am and where I come from.
What does that mean to you?
The legacy of my ancestors is complicated because, you know, we go back to a president, but we also go back to a slave owner. You know, a lot of people don't like to talk about that aspect, but I think you have to take Thomas Jefferson in his totality. That this was a man who owned over 600 slaves, and that makes you angry that he enslaved that many people that were my family members, and then had children with one of them. So it's complex. You know, you're proud of his accomplishments and the things he did as a founding father, but he also founded this country and the people in it because they were his family members. So it's complicated. Sometimes you like him, sometimes you hate him, and you're just angry that he didn't do more for the benefit of those that were enslaved. You know, an abolitionist once said when they were trying to get Thomas Jefferson to join the cause, they said, here is a man, I'm paraphrasing, they said, never before has a man received such fame for something he did not do. because he preached it but didn't do it.
I know you said that your family kind of already knew, you've always known. Do you know how they traced back the lineage to the Jefferson and Hemings?
Well, a lot of it was the oral history. Monticello, which is the house that Thomas Jefferson lived at, it's now a museum and is a historical landmark. But, they used doctors, lawyers, DNA, oral history, documentation, everything to be able to prove that Jefferson fathered these children with Sally Hemings. And it was through our family oral history and documentation that they were also able to trace it back to who begot, who begot, who begot. But then when you had DNA and all this extra evidence, and it all points back as Jefferson fathering, at least 6 of Sally Hemings' children.
Do you know what happened to the children Jefferson and Hemings had together?
We can't find all of the children. We know that Thomas Jefferson, when he began his relationship, whatever you want to call it, I call it his encounter with Sally Hemings, she became pregnant in Paris. That's where they were. And she was a free woman in Paris because slavery wasn't permitted at the time. And he said, if you return to the U.S. with me, I will make sure we free all of our children at the age of 21. And so she decided to return back to the U.S. with him. And he upheld his bargain. He freed their children at the age of 21. Now, there's some discrepancy with regard to the first child, whether it lived or died. However, the other children, the ones that lived, 4 lived to adulthood. Now, 2 of those were allowed to run away. They called it run away because they were put on a stagecoach, given $50, and seen to safety. That's how they ran away. And they passed into white society. So we don't know where they are at this point.
Wow.
They may not know who they are and where their lineage lies because of once you pass into white society, it's an irreversible decision for safety purposes to make sure that you can stay free and alive. So, we're learning more about that side of the family and looking into some possible descendants from them. That's Beverly and Harriet. Now, the last 2, Madison and Eston, I'm from the Madison line, and I have Eston cousins that I know. So we are able to track 2 of those lines. But Eston also at one point passed for white and passed into the white society. So they almost didn't know who they were. But it was found out later in their life from the descendants that are alive today that now know who they are and where their actual ancestry lies. But for the Madison line, we've always known our heritage. We stayed in the Black community. And so we do know where those ancestors are. But I'm still meeting a lot of Madison cousins today, and people coming out the woodwork. So it's exciting to continue to meet family and see it all grow. And of course, we've been meeting the Jefferson side still too.
So what happened to Sally after Jefferson's death?
She was freed by his daughter, moved down to Charlottesville, and she stayed there until she died. And then her children moved to Ohio, where my family is all from. My mother and her family is all from the Ohio area. So they pretty much stayed in that Ohio area, Southern Ohio, around the Chillicothe area, Marlborough County is where they lived.
So now tell us about your book, Jefferson's Children, The Story of One American Family, which is an ALA Best Book for Young Adults. Congrats on that. That's huge. Yeah. So when and why did you decide to write this?
Well, this was an exciting project. You see one of the books here, and there's another one there. That's the second edition. And I co-authored the book with Jane Feldman, who's a photojournalist and author out of New York. And it was just an amazing experience. We met at Monticello when Lucian K. Truscott invited the descendants of Thomas Jefferson's enslaved woman, Sally Hemings, to come to the reunion of Thomas Jefferson's descendants from his wife, Martha Jefferson. So it's hard to say Jefferson and Hemings because we're all Jefferson. And it's hard to say black and white because the family is so mixed up. It's not one or the other. So we just distinguish it by saying Sally Hemings' ancestors and Thomas Jefferson's wife Martha's descendants. So you got Sally's descendants and Martha's descendants. So that's how he invited us all together at Monticello, and that's where I met Jane Feldman. And after everything went down with the family and we were able to get this one amazing picture that Jane wanted to take of all the family standing on the steps of Monticello together. When we had an opportunity to take that picture, she said, oh my gosh, I helped her with the process. And she said, we got to work together. And I was like, okay. And she's like, how would you feel about writing a book about your family and traveling the country to meet them? And I was 19 at the time. I was like, okay, cool. That sounds fun. So But it was an amazing experience. Jane and I went around the country meeting, 4 generations of descendants from Jefferson's wife, Martha, and his enslaved woman, Sally Hemings. And it was an amazing experience to be able to let these people, for the first time, tell their stories, to talk about their heritage that for many years only maybe historians and people from Monticello may have told. But now we were able to tell our stories and give our voice weight. And, it was an amazing process to talk to so many people who shared their in-depth and intimate stories of how they grew up, how they were perceived, how they perceived color, what they thought about Jefferson, what they thought about the encounters he had with Sally Hemings. So, you hear so many stories, and I think they can relate to a lot of people. We call it the subtitle, the story of one American family, because we are just one American family. We just happen to link back to a president, but some of the stories you hear aren't different from a lot of stories you'll hear in the Black community, at least, because you go to a family reunion in the Black community, they look just like all them colors right there.
Yeah. So how'd you find all those people?
We knew some of them from the reunion. We knew a lot of them. And then sometimes people say, oh, you really got to talk to, and who you should talk to. Oh, this person has this story, they have that. And that's just like when people say, how did they get started with finding their journey? Talk to your family. You talk to the people that are around you, talk to the people that you think are most knowledgeable about your family. They have stories, they have traditions, they have memories that they can tell you and share with you that may lead you to the next link or the next piece of your puzzle, I like to say.
Were you feeling nervous about what you might find out about your family history, knowing that, Sally was a slave?
It was about just hearing stories of discrimination, racism, triumph, stories of forgiveness and healing and reconciliation, stories of fear and people who had Confederate flags tattooed on their body, and people who didn't understand the story, people who were finding out they were Black for the first time, what that does to people. Some people in the Black community who felt like they were never dark enough to be accepted by the Black community, never light enough to be accepted by the white community, so they were stuck in the middle. My mother, even talking about looking white, but raising Black boys and the struggles that she had to go through. So it's something for everyone to take home and to really understand and really to connect with, to empathize with, and to hopefully come to a better place of understanding race relations in this country, and how each and every one of us can be a part in healing that and those wounds of this country, but also be a part of making this country a better place.
Where can everybody follow you on social media?
I am mainly on TikTok at Mr. Shannon Lanier, but also across other platforms as Mr. Shannon Lanier as well, on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff.
Shannon Lanier, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate all this, and hopefully it continues to get the word out.
All right. So next week, we're going to hear the second part of Jonathan and Shannon's discussion. Really interesting. I enjoyed watching that. Good job, Jonathan. All right. We're ready for speed round. Let's do it. All right. Last week I blew up because the questions were really long. Let's hope we have shorter questions this time and I can answer them. Ready? 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Can I apply for a green card if I'm on a J1 visa? Yeah, why not? If you stay out of the U.S. too long and lose your green card, can you get it back? Yes, SB1 visa. Can I petition for my spouse if my underage kids are on Medicaid, but I'm not, as long as it's not long-term Medicaid? Is it legal to reapply to get ahead in the interview line? There's no such thing as reapplying. You're not getting ahead. How long does it take? I mean, you can reapply, but you're not getting ahead. How long does it take for a U.S. citizen mom filing for her son, adult son over the age of 21, is about 7 to 9 years single? Is medical RFE a good sign? Yes, it means your case is just about done, just needs a medical. Can a U.S. citizen living overseas sponsor their family? Why not? Of course. My green card expired in January. Can I get a new one? Yeah, I-90. Can the spouse of an H-1B visa hold to get a work permit? Yeah, we heard that in Schmooze if the I-140 is approved. How long does NVC take to change case categories? Weeks. Oh, come on, I did it. You blew me up with 1 second to go. I did it. Take that. Give me balloons. I get balloons. Oh, there are no balloons, but we do have balloons. There we go. There we go. All right. I said, I can't believe it. I got it in 1 second. I think I did it. I definitely think I did it. All right. Comments of the day. We're coming to the end. All right. First comment of the day comes from nobody. There are no comments. There it is. John Reed. Bless you and your superb team. Yes, thank you. All right, we finally got our drum roll going. Evelyn King, thanks, Brad, for your time and always being there for the immigrant community. You truly are an amazing lawyer. Thank you very much. Just link up with Brad and team for a consultation. See how quick your ting ugg sort out. Best believe, Dion Reed. And if you notice, I have no musical talents. I can't even get the drumming right without drums in my hands. All right, let's go again. Marcel Reed, Brad is the best for your immigration matters. Yes, thank you very much, Marcel. And lastly, Sasha Robinson, I need to explore my heritage. My great-grandmother's father was a white man, the son of their slave master. Wow. Yes, you should. And Jessica Leamy, Joelle. I'm glad I came and stayed for this story, the Jefferson awesome backstory, and him digging into his family history. Yes, it was really good, really good. All right, we have the second half next week, so please come back, everybody, to watch the second half. And thank you all for joining me today. Happy Juneteenth to everybody out there, and we'll see you back here live a week from Monday. Stay safe. Thanks for watching. So, Sam, as part of the production, we have to say this disclaimer at the end of the show. Do you mind reading it for me?
Okay, but you know, Brad, I have to do everything around here.
Forget it. I'll do it. The proceeding was information only and not specific legal advice. Consult an attorney about your individual situation. Prior successful results do not guarantee a similar outcome in the future. To make an appointment with the Spar and Bernstein law firm located at 225 Broadway in New York City, call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-529-5465. Easy to remember, 1-800-LAW-LINK. That's 1-800-LAWLINK. Once again, make a call to 1-800-529-5465. And of course, link up with the law offices of Spar and Bernstein, located at 225 Broadway on the 5th floor. If I were you out there, make the call, make the link, make the connection, make it Spar and Bernstein. 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-529-5465. And visit us now at our Connecticut office, 221 Main Street, Suite 501, Hartford, Connecticut. Visit us in Connecticut or in New York at 225 Broadway. That's 1-800-529-5465. 1-800-LAW-LINK, 1-800-529-5465. What are you doing?